Hello, my friend. This is Clyde. The question: is Jesus relevant to men? Jesus came to seek and to save those who were lost, men and women. Yet we tend to see less and less men turning to Jesus, that there are more women in churches these days than men. Is the gospel relevant to men? Is Jesus relevant to men? Let us visit the book of John and review some of Jesus' encounters with men and see what we can learn about the relevance of Jesus' message. In John 3, we see Jesus being visited by a Jewish religious leader named Nicodemus. This man came to see Jesus at night and had the most amazing conversation with Jesus. Jesus did not beat around the bush with this brother. He simply went straight to the point. You cannot see the kingdom of God unless you are born again. That opened up to a strong and direct conversation between two men. No company, no competition, just the two of them. Nicodemus was a leader. He was an important person in the community. But this man had a meeting with the Jesus, the teacher. Nicodemus represents those men who have questions about religion, but they are not willing to discuss those questions in the public square. They would rather go to Jesus privately and be vulnerable with their concerns without the presence of others. What an awesome demonstration of God's willingness to reach men who are not willing to come to the physical church, but who also need salvation. Jesus met him away from the crowd and away from his leadership team. It made a difference, my friend. Nicodemus left that night with some direct answers, and much later we found out that Nicodemus had made a decision to be a disciple of Jesus. Then in chapter 4, we read about a father who traveled a great distance to meet Jesus because he had an urgent need. This man's son was very sick at his home that was far from where Jesus was operating. This man did not send servants to Jesus. Rather, he came himself. What I admire about this man was how direct and deliberate he was. He asked Jesus to come to his house to heal his son. Can you believe it? This man had a need, but in his mind, the only way his son can be healed was for Jesus to stop what he was doing there in Galilee and make the long trip to his home in Capernaum, many miles away. Such nerves. Or is it? It sounds to me that this man was simply focused on his son becoming well. This brother was insistent. Jesus responded to his demands, but in a way that he did not expect. Jesus stayed right there in Galilee and healed the man's son. Jesus sent him home to see it for himself. Jesus was not caught off guard by a man who was making what seemed like an unreasonable demand. The message to men is that Jesus is not intimidated by your needs. He is able and willing to meet you, to hear your concerns, and to do something miraculous for you. Then in chapter 5, Jesus went down to this public place full of sick people, men and women, all who were waiting for some miraculous moment when an angel would stir up the water in the pool, and the first one who entered the pool afterwards would be healed. Sounds like a lottery system. What a terrible place to be. But desperate people do desperate things. Jesus went there and he singled out one person, a man. Before doing anything, Jesus asked him what seemed like the obvious. Do you want to get well? It was not a funny question, my friend. Jesus was inviting this brother to acknowledge his greatest need, a need that he could not take care of, which is why he has been there for many years. Some men are faced with some terrible problems that seem impossible, but if only for one lucky moment. The odds against him are great by the long time he had been at this place. Do you know that there is no problem that a man can have that Jesus cannot fix? I'm serious. It might be a health issue, it might be a financial issue, it might be a private issue, whatever it is, Jesus is willing, but you have to be willing to engage Jesus on a personal and an honest level. This man needed help, and Jesus came to him personally to give him a chance to get the help he needed. The man spoke his need. his desperation, and Jesus did what he was able to do. He healed the man. My brother, you might be dealing with an issue for years, but regardless, Jesus can fix it. You simply have to tell him that you want it, and you want it badly. We jump over to John 9, where we read about Jesus' encounter with a blind man. Here, Jesus explains the problem. This man was born blind not because of his sin or his parents' sin. That was what life did to him. He was born blind. But look at what Jesus said about his situation. Jesus said this man was born blind so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Listen to me. Your adversity is God's opportunity. There just has to be a meeting of the blind man and Jesus. Notice that the man did not go to Jesus. Rather, Jesus came to where he was. That is so much like Jesus. He does not discriminate. Many men think that Jesus doesn't know what they are struggling with, and so they have no clue that Jesus cares and is willing to turn things around for them. This man named Jesus came to a blind man in a hopeless situation, a man whose blindness that was incurable. My brother, Jesus knows your situation and he will come to you. You don't have to live with that condition for the rest of your life. Believe that Jesus can take care of your need. The message today is that Jesus and the gospel is relevant to you, my friend. Jesus is relevant to men.